Avoid wasting your time, money and energy on them.
We don't even agree on some important gods.
कर्ण भाई साहब तो भाग गए।
उसने ये गलत किया कि वो सोच रहा है कि वो कमा सकता है।
क्या करूं मैं मर जाऊं?
जो मदिरा पान पी हुई स्त्री अगर हंस रही है यानी कि ये मंगल है यहाँ।
देव हैं, वो लोग किसके ऑर्डर्स मानते हैं?
What is the difference between great Ved Vyasa and modern day Indian mythology writers? Well, Ved Vyasa was probably like, okay, I have seen Mahabharata live with my eyes, but I should also compile all the previous books, gather all the folk tales and write 18 Puranas so that there is no clash between the different sects of Hinduism. Let's make Hinduism an open architecture, as Shri Rajiv Malhotra will put it in the future.
It's an open architecture. I call it an open architecture. In fact, the book Indra's Net describes that. Open architecture in the sense that new ideas are welcome. There is harmony amidst diversity.
Let's make Hinduism so grand, deep and accommodating by putting different gods in the same story, treating them as friends of each other, interacting with each other, so that in the same Hindu house, the father is worshipping Shiva, the mother is worshipping Krishna, the daughter is worshipping Durga, Shakti, and the son is an atheist Hindu who sometimes read the Upanishads for his mental peace and for his spiritual upliftment. Yet there is no bitterness or issues between all four. The common temple of their house has the idols of Shiva, Durga, Ganesha, Krishna, Hanuman, and it also has the Hanuman Chalisa, the Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Shiv Purana, and also the Upanishads kept in front of all those idols. Are you getting it? Ved Vyasa's intentions were so pure, profound, and grand that he made Hinduism the most accommodating and tolerant religion in the world, where any god could be added to the pantheon at any point in time, and there would never be a clash between different sects.
Sri Ved Vyasa Maharshi, the compiler of all the four Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana Vedas, the author of the grand epic of Mahabharata, the biological great-grandfather of the both sides in Mahabharata, the author of 18 Mahapuranas, the author of Brahma Sutras, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam. The list goes on, and to put it simply, without Ved Vyasa, there is no Bharat or its rich spiritual heritage.
Ved Vyasa made Hinduism what it is today, an ever-flowing perennial river which is continuously evolving and changing its path, changing its course when an obstacle comes, thus almost immortal. Well, I should be saying Hindu Dharma, but bear with me when I refer to Hinduism as religion, for this monologue is in English. So please bear with me. Anyway, as against Ved Vyasa, what the modern day mythology writers really want to say. Do you see the amazing images on my book's cover? Do you see its title? Yes, it has Hindu gods and mythological characters. You will love reading it. So buy it ASAP and make me rich, famous and relevant. Namaskar. This is author Abhaidev and you are watching The Aletheia Show. Have you all noticed? Leaving a few deranged authors like Devdutt Pattanaik, mythological writers, be they be writing fiction or non-fiction, almost all of them behave and talk like Hindutva folks.
In Mecca, in a year, I think only 2.5 million people go. That's obligatory. Kumbh Mela, on one day you have 5 million people. These are political narratives.
Do you know why? It is because they very well know that Muslims and Christians are in their core audience, but it is the Hindus who will be reading their works. And what most Hindus today are Hinduvadis. Here arises the first problem. We don't know who is real Hinduvadi and Rashtravadi person, or who is just drifting because the flow is in that direction as of now. I think most of the Hinduvadi people are just faking it. They are doing it to become famous, stay relevant, and in the case of authors, to sell their books. I know what you are thinking. Now the same can be said about me too, right? Where does this guy come from? Why is he suddenly supporting Hindutva? Yes, your questions are right. They are pertinent and fair. But let me tell you my story. My late grandfather, who escaped from Dera Ismail Khan of Pakistan and came to India, the broken India of today, to save his Hindu identity, was an important lifetime member of the Hindu Mahasabha. My father, though not a member on paper, worked with my grandfather to work for the Hindu cause. And this was when Modi wasn't even in the picture. I still remember those days when we, a simple middle class family, spent our hard earned money to print books on Savarkar, Hindutva, etc. and distributed them to people for free. And you know how people behaved back then in the 1990s? They just took our books and threw it in one corner, never to pick them again. And today they buy books of Vikram Sampath of their own accord. Anyway, I even met Yogi Ji for just 1 second in 2007. I touched his feet when he was an MP and had a tiff with BJP that time. So in the 2007 UP elections, he backed Hindu Mahasabha candidates from Gorakhpur who won too.
वजह पहली बार मैं 25,000 वोटों से जीता था, दूसरी बार 50,000 से जीता, तीसरी बार लगभग 1.5 लाख मतों से मैं गोरखपुर से चुन करके आया हूं.
We too spend our hard-earned money to support the local candidate of the Hindu Mahasabha in the 2007 UP elections. The candidate lost horribly, even when the late Dinesh Chand Tyagi, the then party president of Hindu Mahasabha, campaigned for him for days and even weeks.
साल 2007 के विधानसभा चुनाव में योगी आदित्यनाथ ने अपने उम्मीदवारों के लिए पूर्वांचल में 35 सीटें मांगी, लेकिन बीजेपी इसके लिए तैयार नहीं थी. इस पर योगी ने बगावत कर दी.
The candidate in question is now a biggie in BJP. Anyway, many people won't even know, but there are talks that Shri Dinesh Chandra Tyagi was a mole planted by the BJP to finish off Hindu Mahasabha so that there is no alternative left. I don't know if there is any truth to these rumors. I have just heard it from people, but this is what I have heard, so I am telling that to you. So I told you my story just to tell you that we were the Hindutva people when it was not even cool and considered lowly and orthodox. I have fought with my friends at VIT Vellore when they used to abuse Savarkar. They used to abuse all the other Hindutva guys using the same misleading points that leftists and liberals still use to this day. Anyway, let's move on further, as the story of my family is not the subject of this video. I just cited it to tell you that we are not the recent converts to Hindutva.
2014.
I believe is not the year of change of regime. It's the year when Hindu awakening began.
2014 से पहले सब हिंदू नहीं, ऐसा नहीं. हिंदू धर्म 2014 के बाद आया. सही बात है, हिंदू धर्म 2014 के बाद नहीं आया, मगर हिंदू धर्म जागा 2014 के बाद है.
So it doesn't matter at all who sits at the chair and runs this country. The boulder has already rolled down the hill. The first domino has already fallen. Now there is no stopping it. Even if the leftists and liberals come to power tomorrow, they can no longer undo what has been done. Hindu awakening will continue no matter what. No matter what happens in the politics, no matter who becomes the prime minister. Because Hindu awakening is not a political matter. Instead, it is a societal issue.
Since 2014, Bharat has witnessed a remarkable cultural revival of several temples: Sharda Peeth, Kashmir; Kashi Vishwanath Corridor; Ujjain Mahakal Lok; Kedarnath Temple; Ram Mandir, Ayodhya.
That said, whenever I see the name of the mythological character or god in a book's title, the very next moment it transforms into the word sex. No, I don't hallucinate. It's how I regard these books. Seriously, clickbait. Perhaps subliminally, it has the same effect on other Indians like the simple three-letter word sex. What they don't realize, I guess, is how these mythological novels, their titles and cover pages morph into their psyche. It's not that mythological fiction is a new genre. Many people have been writing these books in India long since before Amish Tripathi became such an icon. I remember Devdutt, a Hindi writer who wrote beautiful stories based on the epics, remaining as true to the source material as he could, yet sprinkling it with a concoction of spices that he came up with, making it more scientific. I enjoyed his work when I was a prepubescent child. However, things change with modern English writers. In the name of creative liberty, instead of merely adding spices, they are adding so much crap that whatever they produce is not at all palatable. Maybe the problem with me is that I am a writer myself, or that I have read better mythological books, albeit in Hindi. I am of the notion that if you make people take a lie detector test and ask them whether they enjoy reading these best-selling mythological stories, the answer would be no. Amish became a famous best-selling author not because his Shiva books have any merit, but because he made the right move at the right time. He had the first mover's advantage in writing English mythological fiction at a time when nobody was paying attention to it, when nobody was giving it importance. In addition to that, what worked in his favor was that an entire generation of people who hadn't read books by Hindi authors like Devdutt. More than a writer, I consider Amish a super marketeer, doing justice to his coveted IIM tag and executing the blue ocean strategy. It is not that I am jealous of Amish's success, fame and riches. Whenever someone writes a plot-based novel, a plot-based fiction, the first step involved is outlining the plot. Once the outlining is done, one can be a pantser, which is writing without a roadmap, on the spot, impromptu, and making necessary additions and modifications. Writers like Amish have it easy. They already have a broad outline. All they have to do is to be a pantser and created an assorted mixture, a melange, ready to be consumed by people, packed in fancy packages, book title, cover, character names. So it all matters, the presentation, and it works.
You can Google me, you won't find any controversies. I am as boring as I look.
I can give Amish Tripathi a pass. Many would consider me puny to even have this thought. Anyway, I can give Amish a pass, but not his various doppelgangers that have sprung up merely to exploit this new market created for English Indian mythological books. For this, I give Amish credit without any doubt. But you see, though Amish too created an unpalatable mishmash, in my opinion, he doesn't exploit his creativity too much. But his doppelgangers, on the other hand, who want to emulate the same success, take it to the another level. No holes barred. Some of these books that they write are so far from the source material that sometimes they are not even remotely related to the legends, and it looks like that the author used the find and replace option in the Microsoft Office and replace all the original characters' names with mythological ones and publish the books with super attractive titles, covers depicting the mythological characters. If possible, I would like to conduct an anonymous study, a thought experiment perhaps. Pick up a best-selling mythological book. Replace the mythological characters and places name with random other names. Change the cover page. Rewrite the title. And then publish the books. And do fierce marketing. How many copies of these same best-selling books will sell now? Not even in the thousands. How many people will become die-hard fans of these authors? Not even 100. Which is why I don't consider mythological fiction authors as fiction writers at all. At best, I consider them to be outstanding marketeers and shrewd people who are keeping up with the times. Mostly, I consider them part of this rat race which Amish flagged off and which he secured the gold medal because he had a head start. The fact that this space is too saturated now gives me a sense of relief.
I have read too many Indian mythology books.
No more books after books on Karna. No more books after books on Draupadi. No more hundreds of Krishna singing their new Gitas. I am happy that Amish is irreplaceable. No doppelganger of his will ever outflank him.
That not everything is perfect in India. There are many things that need to be improved.
Let there be only one Amish. We don't want more. At least I don't.
God bless you.
But my thinking is tainted by the fact that I am able to write prose myself. Most of the Amish readers can't. People might accuse me of being bitter towards successful authors as I have not tasted success like them. But I was of the same opinion even when I hadn't started publishing. Only I wasn't as good enough as I am now in expressing it. It's not that I haven't used element of mythology in my books. I have, but I haven't based a complete book on them. If mythological elements are there at all in my books, it is to support the structure, one of the many beams or pillars on which the whole story rests. They are never the mainstay. They are never the foundation, just a passing affair. To me, writing typical, full-blown mythological fiction would be a dead blow to the authenticity of my soul. It's not that I can't write these stories. As far as I am concerned, it appears easier to write them. I just don't want to taint my soul by going against my beliefs, just in an attempt to emulate success and fame of Indian giants like Amish. When I write, readers are not on my mind. There is no audience that I think of wooing. However, once my book is published, I do try my best to find as many readers as I can. Be it someone like me, Amish, or anyone else. There is one thing common to all. Writers are extremely lonely people. Readers complete us by reading our books. What motivates me might not motivate writers like Amish Tripathi. But deep down, everyone wants to receive that unsolicited spam message in their DMs. I really like reading your books, sir. I really like reading your books, sir. Back to the topic again. Most of the mythology writers are writing mythology books not just to emulate the success of Amish. They simply write mythology because it gives them the prompt to write. It gives them ideas and make the story interesting, at least to the Indian readers. But that doesn't mean that they believe in Hindu religious books or are Hinduvadis. It's simply a matter of convenience, you see. Take for example my case. I don't believe that time travel is possible. Yet I wrote a crime thriller 13 minutes before midnight that involves time travel. Now you will ask why? I wrote it, I included time travel just because it gives me ample leeway to experiment with my plot and makes my normal crime thriller story more interesting. I don't believe in time dilation too. I am sure a new theory or model will replace Einstein's relativity and we will be able to do better engineering. Find a particle that travels much faster than photons and we will not be limited by the speed of light c. I believe that the clocks that are losing time aboard spaceships are not losing time due to time dilation, but simply because they are not able to function properly in a zero gravity environment. The simplest example would be that of an hourglass. Will an hourglass work on a spacecraft or International Space Station? The answer is no. The sand won't fall at all. But does that mean time has dilated? No. It just means that an hourglass is a crude device and a work of ancient engineering which only functions in the presence of gravity. The same is the case with modern clocks. No matter which clock you make, digital or non-digital, it will malfunction in zero gravity simply because it is made up of materials and involves engineering not good enough to deal with the environment of space. This doesn't mean that time has dilated. It just means that the clock is malfunctioning. In short, I don't believe in time dilation either. Yet, I have used the concept in my book, The Gods Are Not Dead, because it helped me remove the plot hole from my story. Do you understand? Just because someone is making use of some idea to create a work of art and to sell it, it doesn't mean he or she believes in that idea. The same is the case with mythology writers.
गॉड का ट्रांसलेशन इज भगवान. नो. गॉड का फुल फॉर्म क्या होता है?
गॉड का फुल फॉर्म
नहीं होता है.
नहीं.
Just because they are using ancient Hindu texts as references to write their books, it doesn't mean they believe in them or are Hinduwadis, no matter what they pretend to be in public, just in order to sell their books. So if you are writing fiction, it doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter whether you believe in the core idea presented in your book or not, as it is fiction. But if you are speaking, be it in person to someone or publicly, you should mean your words, for it becomes non-fiction. If you don't practice or believe in what you preach, then it becomes a lie, a deception. It makes you a hypocrite.
अरे उसने तो छोड़ दिया और अपना पहिया निकालने पे रह गया और इसका गला काट दिया. ऐसा नहीं था वो.
An inauthentic person. Not only does it hurt people, but it also spirals you down the ladder of spirituality. One should always be authentic in one's speech. Yes, that is what I believe. Otherwise, you are no less than a corrupt politician telling lies to gather votes. If you can't be authentic,
who is elder, Ganesha or Kartikeya? Kartikeya is elder for you?
That's what I have.
As it may pose danger to your life, then at least be quiet on the topic or be subtle in conveying your message to escape the wrath of the zealots. Anyway, before I move on to the specific cases, i.e. the famous mythology authors of India, first consider a hypothetical situation. Consider I am writing a superhero novel about a vigilante set in the year 2025 who is saving people from atrocities. Now I know I am a nobody. I don't have connection in the literary world, nor will the traditional publishers publish me, for it's too big a risk publishing a not so known author, especially when the profit margins are decreasing day by day. So what do I do instead is follow the herd. I open my manuscript in the Microsoft Office, press Ctrl F and replace all the characters and places names with the mythological ones. I even alter the date from 2025 to say 2450. And now what I have is a novel about Kalki, having the title say Kalki, the last savior of Bharata. And I hire a costly graphic designer to make a super attractive cover which depicts the avatar Kalki and gives that mysterious mytho vibe. Do you get what I have now from a book which would hardly be able to sell 1,000 copies? Or I now have a mentally seductive novel which might sell anywhere north of 1 lakh copies. Of course, with proper marketing and promotion. Why? Because anything with the Hindu gods and mythological characters' names sells in India, be it have something to do with the actual source or nothing at all. No wonder why so many Mahabharatas, Ramayanas, etc. TV serials, web series have been made. including subplots and stories which have nothing to do with the actual ancient books. Do you get it now? The name of the Hindu gods and Hindu mythological characters on the title and the cover page of the books have the same effect as the word sex printed or written anywhere. Immediate attention. We can't help it. Now let's go to the last and most important part of this video, which is explaining to you the good side, the bad side, and the useless side of mythology books by citing specific examples. Yes, I will be taking names, and these names are big, so I might face a lot of backlash and anger from both the leftists, liberals, morons, and the Hinduwadis, especially the trads. The Raita Hindutva guys, however, will appreciate my views. Case number 1. The ugliest, the most corrupt, and the most deranged mytho writer out there claims to write non-fiction, but in the garb of non-fiction, he is spreading the agenda of his foreign masters and using active, perverted imagination of his own in the area which doesn't require to be imaginative. He is a sepoy, the agent of the deep state, a leftist moron. Yeah, you guessed it right. I am talking about Devdutt Pattanaik. This guy is so deranged, unwelcoming of the speech of others, that he even closed the comment section in the Twitter. Now I don't know what happened to that feature when Twitter became X. I don't visit profiles of corrupt losers just because they are rich and famous. Anyway, since this guy is gay, he tries to find LGBTQ stuff in our Asian scriptures whenever he gets the chance. You see the world the way you are. So this guy sees a religious text with the spectacles of LGBTQ and writes about it. I don't know what the problem with LGBTQ people is. Nobody cares what you are in your bed. Nobody cares, dude. Being gay doesn't make you superior to straight people. Uniqueness doesn't mean worthiness. It's just your preference. Nobody cares what you are inside the four walls of your bedroom. Well, unless you are a Muslim living in an Islamic country that has implemented Sharia. Anyway, any LGBTQ in Devdutt's books is just the surface. What he writes is absolute rubbish too, distorting the religious books every time, as if he is a white man viewing our ancient texts with a bias and hatred for Hinduism and Hindutva. My Gita, yes, it's your Gita only, full of imaginary stuff. So please don't shove it inside our heads. The very least you can do to gain respect of the Rashtrwadi people is categorizing your book as fiction instead of non-fiction. This Devdutt doesn't know Sanskrit, nor he is a linguistic expert in the same. Yet he explains the origin of Sanskrit words, their etymology, true meaning, often doing sandhi viched of them.
I saw a whole lobby attacking my work. My Gita book was attacked. They said, you don't know Sanskrit.
And most of the time, he is wrong. Do you know why? Because the source of his information and knowledge are translated works themselves. That too by white people like Wendy Duniger. Not only do these gurus of Devdutt don't know Sanskrit that well, but the thought process is also tainted by the Abrahamic template, which is not applicable in the case of Eastern cultures and society. People like Wendy Doniger might also be working with an agenda. I don't know. Like teacher, like student.
The version of Hinduism, the Hindutva agenda of Modi is propending, there's no resemblance to Hinduism, to what people in India really believe. There's no such thing as one Hinduism.
Devdutt Pattanaik is a brown man with a consciousness of a white man, writing trashy books which are also read by Indian sahibs and mem sahibs, the elite who are disconnected with their culture and society and seek knowledge through Devdutt's book as reading religious texts in their native language by publishers like Gita Press is way too uncool. As against this, there are white people like Carolina Goswami who are much more Indian and Hindu by consciousness than most of the Indian Hindus themselves.
There are so many women-only rituals in India where men do not participate at all, but it does not mean that they are being discriminated.
The same is the case with countless Russian, Slavic and German men and women who have devoted their lives to Krishna and are living in Mathura and Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna, nosotros estamos aquí en Jaipur en el templo de
Let me tell you what Devdutt probably does. He reads English translated works and English books on Hindu mythology, rephrases the sentences, adds some LGBTQ and perverted masala of his own, and vomits it on a piece of paper. No mythology writer in India has harmed the tender and naive Hindu Indians as much as Devdutt. To me, he is an abomination, an absolute piece of garbage who is suffering from mental issues, probably IED or BPD, as it is evident by his old angry replies on Twitter, full of curse words and expletives, totally unhinged.
ये सब क्या अंग्रेजी पढ़ के बाबा जी बने हुए हैं? ज्ञान तो है नहीं, बड़ी बड़ी बातें करते हैं.
Case number 2, Akshat Gupta. If you have watched the cult classic indie movie, The Man from Earth, you will know what I am going to talk about next.
What if a man from the upper Paleolithic survived until the present day?
We're just talking about a caveman.
Who do you think I am? I'm not in any way Superman.
Yes, Akshat Gupta most probably watched the movie henceforth mentioned, expanded its script to 3 books and used the Control F and replace. Voila, the Hindu was born. Writers like these take advantage of the fact that most of the Indians don't watch artistic indie dramas of the West. Hence they make use of others' plot, do some plus and minus, and their books are ready. So bad the case is that even the ending is same as The Man from Earth. Akshat Gupta can very well sue me in the court if he comes across this video. Let's see who wins the case. The thing is, it gives a bad name to Indian authors that they are not ingenious enough. So far okay, no problem. Copy as much you can. But when these same authors start appearing in podcasts, pretending to be the Hindutva guys with cool one-liners such as one should avoid both the chadar and the father.
हर हिंदू को चादर और फादर से बचने की जरूरत. वो नहीं आ रहे ना आपके मंदिर में आरती करने, तो चादर और फादर से बचने की जरूरत है. फादर मतलब हर वो लोग जो क्रिश्चियनिटी में कन्वर्ट करने तक लगे हुए हैं.
Then it puts a question mark on the whole movement. Are these guys our representatives? It's bad. In fact, pathetic. If this wasn't enough, the author in question is on a podcast spree, speaking utter crap, which has no factual basis. For example, the famous Sandhi Vichhed fallacy of the name Ravan by him.
ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग चीज, ये मैं पहली बार आपके पॉडकास्ट में शेयर कर रहा हूँ. तो ब्रह्मा के पुत्र का पुत्र रावण, वो आधा भगवान है और आधा राक्षस. तो राक्षस का रा और भगवान का वन रावण.
Which Nityananda Misra debunked quite nicely in his short video.
क्या रावण नाम राक्षस के रा और भगवान के वन से मिलकर बना है? राक्षस का रा और भगवान का वन मिलकर बना है रावण. राक्षस का रा और भगवान का वान मिलकर बनेगा रावान. रावण का अर्थ है रावयति लोकान इति रावण. लोगों को रुलाने के कारण दशानन का नाम था रावण.
I remember on one of the occasions, Akshat Gupta even said that SIR is an acronym for slave I remain.
सर का मतलब होता है स्लेव आई रिमेन. पता है आपको, ब्रिटिशर्स ने सबसे पहले अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज में स्लेव बनाना सीख गए थे. उन्होंने अफ्रीकन को बोला कि आज के बाद तुम हमको सर बुलाओ, ताकि तुम्हारे घर में जो बच्चा पैदा होगा ना, वो बचपन से हमको देखेगा घोड़े पे बैठे हुए और बोलेगा सर.
My God, how do such people get the screen time with famous podcasters? Do they do a background check or not? Do they just call anyone who is famous on their show just for the sensationalism, which will help them gather views? Again, the issue is this guy is supposedly a Hinduwadi. Sorry Akshat Gupta, we don't want morons to fight for our cause who have no tongue to brain connection. Just sell your books and be rich. Don't join a fight and make it look so shallow and non-serious. It's not a game or plaything for kids. It's a war. It's an intellectual war of narratives. The worst thing about Akshat Gupta is that instead of promoting the profound Hindu philosophies of the Upanishads, Vedas and Bhagavad Gita, this guy is promoting superstitions, making matter even worse.
आजकल हम बोलने लगे कि भगवान का शुक्र है, तो वो असल का लाइन क्या है? असल का लाइन है अल्लाह का शुक्र है। भगवान के तो शुक्र कभी हुए नहीं ना, शुक्राचार्य को भगवानों ने एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया था।
The left liberal lobby is excited and happy. The seculars and comrades are happy. You know, they won't target people like Anand Ranganathan, Jay Sai Deepak, Rajiv Malhotra, etc. They will just ignore them because they know they can't win in a debate or point out the grave logical fallacies of them. But people like Akshat Gupta become easy targets. It gives them the chance to say and ask, is this the intellectual level of the warriors of Hindutva? People like Akshat Gupta, who are Hinduvadi for convenience, most probably he is that. For it suits them now, give a bad name to Rashtravadi Hindu narrative. Avoid wasting your precious time, money and energy on them. Listen to Rajiv Malhotra and Nityananda Mishra instead, if you really want to gain insight. Case number 3, Amish Tripathi. I have already talked a lot about Amish earlier. He is indeed the father of Indian mythological fiction written in English language. But father doesn't mean right. Freud is the father of modern Western psychology. But most of his hypotheses and theories are utter BS, which he came up with smoking cocaine alone in his room, lolling on his rocking chair. Modern day MRI imaging and neurosciences prove him wrong every other day on every damn issue. Anyway, back to Amish. I'm not going to talk about what he writes and how he writes. I'm just going to tell you 2 incidents. First incident, a 21-year-old Hindu guy told me he is a Shiv Bhakt when I asked him why is he smoking weed at such a tender age. When I asked where did he get this info of Shiva smoking marijuana, he said everyone knows about it and it's depicted in the Shiva trilogy too.
They smoke joints. और वो कहते हैं कि ये तो बाबा का प्रसाद है, शिव जी का प्रसाद है, क्योंकि हमारे तो शिव जी भी पीते हैं, वो भी मग्न रहते हैं और वो भी हमारे भोलेनाथ है, तो जब वो कर सकते हैं तो हम क्यों नहीं?
Now second incident, I was scrolling X timeline when 2 guys were arguing with each other like usual, abusing each other's religions. The fake account with the Muslim name posted, you worship the penis of the god who was Ganjedi. The Hindu got miffed. He got angry and asked him from where did he got that crap inside his head. From Madarsa. The fake ID Muslim person said, no, I have read Amish.
Saeed Akhtar Rizvi has a question. We'll pick it up in the next broadcast, but I'll quickly tell you what it is. Akhtar Rizvi is asking you, will you explain phallus worshipping?
Now, I'm not saying it's purely Amish's fault. Maybe his intention was to make Shiva cool amongst the youth, to make people think that it's not mythology but history. I don't know for sure, but he sure made a lot of money selling his new Puranas without even realizing what effect it may have on the tender and naive minds of the youth, for whom his books are their first indulgence as far as Hindu religious texts are concerned. Okay, Amish accepts that what he writes is fiction, but the damage his books have done to the youth is irreparable, at least for now.
One of the things I was told is that the main market are the youth. And ironically, most of my readers are actually the youth.
Correct.
Right?
We don't need more Ved Vyasas who wrote the 18 Puranas. The job of uniting the Hindu sects is already done. Now case number 4, Kevin Missal. If you see his earlier works, they were of different genres. But suddenly Kevin Missal realized what's the in thing. Since he is probably a practicing Christian, he has no faith, nor does he have devotion towards Hinduism. For him, mythology genre is just the means to sell his books.
कुछ गलत नहीं किया.
Probably a fan of George R.R. Martin, he tries to emulate him and writes fantasy books in the same style, but with one exception. The names of the character and places are Indian. Imagine writing a speculative fantasy fiction and not even selling 100 copies of it. So what do is write whatever you feel like, but just do Ctrl plus F and replace the names in your mind itself. Nobody will read a fantasy book in India, but Kalki, oh my god, Kalki, the 10th avatar of Vishnu. I must buy this book. Imagine a Hindu writer writing fiction stories about Jesus Christ. Now Christians will say, theirs is history, but ours is mythology. No, yours is mythology too. In fact, Jesus Christ is not even a name. The letter J isn't even a part of Hebrew, which is Jerusalem's language. It is Yeshua Christo, and it's a statement which usually translates to God save and protect the anointed one. One can refer and listen to Esther Dhanraj if one wants to go in more detail.
By the 17th century, English Bibles used the Latin spelling and the Greek pronunciation. It was Jesus, it was not Jesus. In 1524, Giorgio Ticino, he is an Italian Renaissance grammarian, he for the first time made a clear distinction between the sounds of I and J.
Point is, Christian miracles are true miracles and historical facts, i.e. sinless virgin birth, Jesus healing people, walking on water, turning water into wine, etc. But our magic makes our Puranas pure mythology with not even 10% history in them. What an utmost hypocrisy. तुम्हारा कुत्ता टॉमी और मेरा कुत्ता कुत्ता.
क्या करूं मैं मर जाऊं? ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੁੱਤਾ ਟੋਮੀ, ਸਾਡਾ ਕੁੱਤਾ ਕੁੱਤਾ.
Remember the Christian protests in India when the Da Vinci Code was published? How the then Kerala government even tried to ban the book.
Dan Brown's 2003 mystery thriller, but in India the book was banned by the government for allegedly containing some profane remarks about Christianity. The movie was banned in 7 different states of India, including Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and Goa.
Yes, a Christian who has no faith or devotion towards Hinduism can write crap using divine Hindu characters, sell it as mythological fiction and become famous and rich. But if a Hindu even attempts to write a book on Christian mythology, yes, you heard it right, I said Christian mythology, because Christianity appropriated the local culture everywhere it went and became what it is now today.
If Jesus didn't want people to sin, why did he turn water into wine? People tend to be more sinful after drinking wine.
No snow in Jerusalem, but a Christmas tree on Christmas. Why? Because it was a pagan practice in the Nordics and Eastern Europe. Special mention to the Santa Claus, who is most probably an appropriation of the Norse god Odin. The list is simply endless. Anyway, the point is, Hinduism is so tolerant that it allows even Christians to write mythological fiction, which shouldn't be the case. We shouldn't be this much tolerant, especially when we are in a global Kurukshetra, fighting this difficult war of narratives. Thankfully, Kevin Missal is not that famous, and compared to the likes of Amish and Akshat Gupta, he has sold only a few copies of his books. But if in the future he becomes way too popular, then he will start harming the Hindu society just like Akshat Gupta. The message therefore is, we should be cautious. Case number 5, Nityananda Mishra. Well, by now you already know what my views on Nityananda Mishra are. He is a highly learned man who probably spent God knows how many sleepless nights to learn Sanskrit in depth. Stop reading other mytho writers. Read Nityananda Mishra and listen to him. He is doing great service to the Hindu cause. In fact, he is the cure and the antithesis to evil folks like Devdutt Pattanaik. Now, I am not saying he is the best out there and I am his devotee. What I want to say is, amongst the people who know Sanskrit in depth, are active on social media, and also know English, and appeal to the higher middle class and elite Hindus, he is definitely the best. Buy his books. If you can't do research on your own, read him, listen to him. He is one of the good ones. Case number 6, Ami Ganatra. I know I will receive a lot of flack and face backlash from Hinduwadi people, especially the trads. But the Raita Hindutva guys will appreciate what I want to say. I would have kept quiet, but as you see, I feel I am too close to my death now to live unauthentically and lie. This is not a criticism per se, nor I am saying Ami Ganatra is harming the Hindu cause or brainwashing the youth. I just want to say that reading her books is a sheer waste of time, and I will tell you why. You might have heard her on many Rashtravadi YouTube channels. She is highly respected and welcomed in all of them. By now, one sentence must have popped inside your mind. Do you know Karna was a bad person?
सबसे बड़ा कास्टिस्ट तो करण स्वयं है।
मुझे कर्ण और रावण को लेकर इतनी गालियां पड़ती है कि पूछो मत।
God damn it. I have heard it so many times that my ears now bleed every time I hear the same. Dear Ami Ganatra, I don't know if Karna was a bad guy or a good one. I wasn't there when the Mahabharata happened. Ved Vyasa wrote that only he and Sanjay witnessed the whole affair from far away. So our only source of info is Ved Vyasa. We have to take his word at face value. Now don't get me wrong. I am not saying the Mahabharata never happened. There is plenty of archaeological proof of that. I am also not saying Krishna didn't exist. We have plenty of archaeological proofs all over the country, especially in Mathura, Vrindavan and the submerged city of Dwarka. Also, I am not saying that the Pandavas and the Kauravas are figment of someone's imagination. No, such people existed for sure. However, what I don't know is how they existed, whether they existed the way ancient texts depict them or whether they existed completely opposite of that. I simply don't know. History is written by the victors. Maybe Ved Vyasa was born a century later, compiled all the history books and folklores of that time and wrote Mahabharata. I simply don't know. I have to put Ved Vyasa on a pedestal, suspend all doubts, take his words on face value and accept that he really witnessed Mahabharata with his eyes. So I have to become a trad Hindutva guy and a devotee. But you see, I am not that. I will call spade a spade. History for me matters only after 400 BC, when people from the west started invading and attacking our great nation, as it teaches us not to make the same mistakes again and deal with our enemies better. I don't care about who was and who did what when the entire Jambu Deepa followed Vedanta. Why, you may ask? Because it is not relevant at all to my life. Okay, Karna was a bad guy, but what difference does it make to my daily life? It isn't that he was an Abrahamic guy with an intention to finish off Sanatan Dharma from the continent. The Mahabharata for me is just a property dispute. Who was who did what, who won, it doesn't matter to me at all. What really matters to me is the Vidur Niti and the Bhagavad Gita, because it's philosophy and self-help. Bhagavad Gita helps me become a better person, ascend on the ladder of spirituality, attain mental peace, and equips me to deal with evil enemies and mentally prepares me for a Dharma Yudh. Similarly, Vidur Niti helps people deal with stuff on a day-to-day basis, become more ethical in their lives, and teaches good governance. Well, if someone wants to become a politician or a leader, are you getting it? It doesn't matter at all whether Sanjeev Kapoor or the late Tarla Dalal stole recipes from others. It doesn't matter whether they had their books ghost written. It doesn't matter what Sanjeev Kapoor is and what late Tala Dalal was as an individual. What matters is whether the recipes written in their books helped me become a better cook or not. So I repeat, how Krishna was like, how the Pandavas were like, who was evil, who was good, it has no relevance to me, as it has all happened during the Vedic era. What matters to me are the two marvels the Mahabharata era produced, i.e. the profound and philosophical Bhagavad Gita, and the discourse on ethics and good governance, i.e. Vidoniti. I hope you now get it. Yes, I am a Raita Hindutva guy, but I am not an atheist. I am the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita guy. So what Karna actually was, what Draupadi really said when Duryodhana fell into the water pool is not at all relevant to me, nor does it make any difference in my daily life. That's why I categorize Ami Ganatra's books, her monologues, and her podcast shows as useless. If you are an Ami Ganatra's fan, hate me as much as you can. I am a Raita Hindutva guy, and I can't become a trad like you. Well, that's it. In the end, I would like to thank you for reaching this far. Well, if you have. If you believe this video is helping the Hindu cause, do contribute. If you can't contribute, then like, share and subscribe. I believe this video should reach as many people as it can. Thanks again for watching. Goodbye.